All right, should be up now. Yep.
Good to go? Check.
Are we live, Chandler?
Make sure this is off.
All right, so we are live on Facebook and YouTube with Marcus Crandall, who was here. Marcus, good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you too, Clip.
And
how's everything going?
It's going great. Ready for some Pirate baseball this weekend. Not going to host Marcus, but they will be taking on Virginia in the Charlottesville Regional, taking on Oklahoma on Friday, but in Charlottesville. So trying to make another run here.
Hey, we're in it, man. That's all that matters,
Yes,
man.
sir.
And in the world of sports and anything else, I'll start with a little cliche, so to speak, in regards to if you have a chip and a chair, you're good to go.
All right, there you go. Marcus's words of wisdom for today. So Marcus joins us live Thursdays on Pirate Radio Live, which he'll do this coming Thursday, as we'll talk some hoops and maybe football and everything in between. Alico Dunk, Jason Nichols coming on this week. But you're going to be heading out of town. So we're going to be recording some interviews here and some awesome interviews starting today with Pirate great Pernell Griffin, but Coach Doug Martin, Jarris McPhail, Pirate running back. So we're going to be recording those and we'll play those on the show at a later date. But figured we'd go ahead and pop this up live. If you have a question for Marcus or Pernell and you're tuned in right now to Facebook and YouTube, you can get those in and we'll ask the greats here joining me in the studio today. So first of all, Pernell, awesome to shake your hand. I was a big fan back in the day, but how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you, Cliff and Marcus, for having me. Certainly a blessing to be here. Marcus, he hit me up and we got together and set a date. I told him I'll be here, so it's good to be here, man. Good to be back in Greenville. I tell you what, it's a certain feeling that come upon you. I don't know if Marcus had the same feeling, but when you come back to where you spent 4 years of your life and you were very inspirational and you kind of did some things that people kind of looked up to, is a certain type of feeling that you receive when you're coming back. It's a welcoming feeling, almost like you want to just stay.
Well, that's awesome. So catch us up on what you're up to today, Pernell. Where are you living? What are you doing these days?
Currently I'm married. I've been married now, this year will be 18 years I've been married. We have 4 beautiful children. Currently living in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Got into coaching a little bit at Northern Nash High School a couple of years ago. My youngest son, he played, got injured back in October of 2021, I believe. Had a compound break and had about 5 surgeries. Lord bless him, man. He was able to come back, and he's actually playing this year.
Wow.
So he's a junior this year. Coming up. So just kind of been in that area currently. Work for Cummins, Rocky Mount Engine Plant. I'm a operations manager. Been doing that 2 years, going on 2 years. Also been working with Coach Connors. Coach Connors has a coalition called the Armored Life. So kind of been doing that with him. Been sitting in at the Sports Objective and kind of been going over some things, taking a holistic approach to athletics. We do leadership development. We also do spiritual, mental development. Student athletes, they need that type of guidance. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be impactful, man. We want to be impactful. We got kids that are coming up, when I was coming up, really didn't have the resources that had individuals to actually be mentoring and impactful on the college level. And so, shouts out to Coach Connors and his team, man, for, getting that done.
Absolutely.
Marcus, there's a theme. Well, let me say this real quick. A theme with the guys you brought on and guys you've known with, of course, Tabari Snoop Wallace and what he's doing with Jermaine Smith, who we talked to last week. Larry Shannon's a coach. Everybody is giving back, whether it be their football knowledge or life knowledge. That's kind of been a theme with these interviews we've done here.
Man, it's great, man, and glory be to God, man, because Coach Connors is going to be on the show again. I'm not sure if he's been on before, but he's going to be on the show coming up soon as well, and to discuss those things and giving back in a way that which is in a way that glorifies as God. And Coach Connors and I have had this conversation in regards to, sports and athletics and anything that we do in life. And everything starts with God. And so however we find a way to give back to people and with people of believers, we think that's the first thing that we the way we approach people in regards to growth on the field, off the field, and all those things. And each individual is different, but it's awesome to give back to kids the way Pernell has and Coach Connors has, many athletes, man, and just many people in general who do things for people that are coming up in the world.
Talking to Marcus Crandall, Pernell Griffin, and Pernell, you said you enjoyed coming back to Greenville, feeling the love. According to a vote in 2013, you are in the top 6 all-time linebackers ECU history. And I don't know if you even remember this. Maybe you do.
That's awesome.
But I had forgotten about this. So for the 50th anniversary of Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium, there was a vote on the all-time teams at East Carolina. And first-team linebackers, some great names, Robert Jones, the Hall of Famer, obviously, George Kuntz, who played with the Packers, and Jeff Carr, who was a great here at East Carolina. Second team, you had Quentin Cotton, who was good in the mid-2000s, Danny Kepley, who I read was a CFL Hall of Famer, Marcus. That's pretty cool.
Eskimos at the time, now Elks.
And then also on that list is Pernell Griffin, second team all-time ECU linebacker. So, and it had all your accolades here. You had a game against Wake Forest where you had 24 tackles. I want to ask you what you felt like after that game. But what does that mean to you to hear that you're put in that high regard, Pernell?
That means a lot, man. Like I said, man, I thank God for that. I thank God for his grace and mercy. Enduring all of those hits, injury that I had back in my junior year where I tore my MCL. The Lord blessed me to be able to come back from that. And so, man, nothing but his grace and his mercy that I was able to achieve those accolades. It's a blessing, man, just to know, that my name after about over 20 years, people still consider me as being one of those, top athletes. So I'm grateful. One of the mottos that I live by is that the life I live is not for me, but it's for you, which meant that the experiences that I've had is not for me to take to my grave, but it's for me to sow into other people, just to try to let them know that if football don't work out, their life still has value. So that's kind of where I am now.
Absolutely. Now, Pernell, we share a similar experience in regards to we both come from a small town. You're from Williamston, North Carolina. And talk to us a little bit about, what that means to you as far as coming from a small town, coming to a place that's very close to home at ECU to play football and then have your people, your family and friends and everybody who else supported you through high school. Right. Being able to share that experience with you, how does that feel for you?
Yeah, it was great, man. And to be honest, please don't shoot me, okay? But to be honest, in 1995, I went to a Carolina football camp, and I met Matt Brown. Matt Brown had offered me my junior year to go to UNC Chapel Hill. At that particular time, I didn't accept. I told him, I would consider it. Just so happened that he ended up going to Texas that same year. And Coach Jared McManus, he was a running backs coach here at ECU. He continued to recruit me. So I said, you know what, Coach McManus and Coach Logan, they seemed pretty sincere about, what they wanted to do and their expectations. And so, I said, well, I'll come here. It was close to home. I lived 30 minutes down the road. Really didn't hear too much about ECU growing up. I heard about Mark C. Going there from Roanoke, and I said, well, you know what? I considered going there. I was the #1 recruit from the South, coming out of a 1A school. I was, top 10 in the country in my position. Was able to attend the Shrine Bowl and East-West All-Star game. And like I said, I only had 99 seniors that I graduated with in high school. Only had maybe about 400 or 500 students total in the school. And so I tell anybody, it doesn't matter the size of the school. If you can play, the recruits, they'll come and find you. And that was a great experience for me. Had an opportunity to go back and touch many lives And small town, probably a population of what, Marcus? Probably about 4,000 or 5,000 maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
In the county.
Yeah, I know Robinsonville is smaller.
Right.
So Robinsonville, when I was growing up, was about 2,000.
Right.
And it might not even be that now. So, yes, absolutely.
Before we move on from high school, being 1A and the player you were, did you go both ways? Did you drive the bus? Like, did you do everything for that football team?
I did. Actually, I didn't come off the field. Coach Harold Robinson, thankful for him. He had me playing on the field, but what I did to prepare for that experience, I did a lot of off-season work. So I did a lot of running from my house to what we call Gaylord Perry Park and back, worked out. And so I did a lot of things during the summer to prepare me for that because I was expected to stay on the field. We had, 18, 22 players at that time. And I said, well, you know what? Coach, his mindset, he want the best guys on the field. So I said, well, I'm going to get my body in shape and work out to where I can stay on the field and not come off. There were times where, you play and you leave it all out in the field and you can hardly even make it to the locker room. And those were the nights that I really appreciated because it was, how bad did you want it? A lot of the kids that we ended up winning the 1A state championship in 95, I kind of played with them when I was 9, 10 years old, playing in Parks and Rec. We played from 9 to 10 years old all the way up until, my junior, senior year in high school. And so that camaraderie that we built allowed us to be able to compete, on that high level in the state championship game. So we played with a chip on our shoulder, to be honest with you. We're a small school. I was probably about the tallest person on my team. Our offensive line averaged probably about 200 pounds. Our defense were the same way. And so, I was on kickoff cover. I had a couple of block punts. I played tight end, played wide receiver. I played a little bit of fullback. Coach had me playing inside and outside linebacker. I played defensive end. So wherever, I could help the team, that's where Coach had me. And I was very appreciative of that.
Man, that's what the 1A level does, right? In regards to, of course, I can relate, but in a lot of areas of what you just spoke of.
Did they put you on defense, Marcus, or was your arm too
I played free
pretty?
safety, and
okay.
Again, we share a lot of experiences that are alike. I was recruited by the University of North Carolina as well, but they were one of the teams that wanted me to come play defensive back as a player. So I declined and chose ECU. But again, yes, I played offense. I played free safety on defense, and the one thing I didn't do, or things that I didn't do, was play on the kickoff team, kick return. I actually punted and did some kickoffs.
Well, you said Randall Cunningham. You were a fan of his. He did a little punting. I remember he had like a 90-yard punt one time.
Yes, he did.
So Pernell and Marcus, if you can jump in if you want, but when you were talking about that off-season conditioning, now that is kind of expected of guys. I don't know if it was maybe back in the 90s or whatever, but all that work you did and being on the field, I've heard some horror stories about Jeff Connors and the workouts. Were you at all prepared for those? Because it sounded like you were getting your work in even before you came to ECU. What was that like when you got here?
I'll tell you what, man, I thought I was prepared. And like I tell him all the time, I said, Coach, I said, man, let me tell you something. I said, when I first got here, probably about the first month or so, I called home. I told my mom, I said, listen, I said, there's absolutely nowhere in the world we supposed to be doing this. She's like, what are you talking about?
In those temperatures that we were doing them in.
Right. She's like, what are you talking about? I said, Mom, look, I'm coming home. And she said, well, talk to your brother. My brother, he played at A&T back from 93 to 97, started center. He was highly recruited like Jeff Saturday. And he was like, well, bro, he said, well, just stick it out. He said, if it doesn't get better, he said around August or September, he said it gets better because a lot of the students come back to campus. You're not there with just the team. And I said, okay. I said, well, I'll stick it out. And I tell you what, it was the best decision, man, that I've ever made. Coach Connors, man, the conditioning that we did, we were probably only about 1 or 3 schools that actually did the 110s, the 300s, the practicing 3 times a day, the winter conditioning. Man, it was something else. And he would have that music thumping in the locker room, in the weight room, and man, he had guys excited, man. And I tell you what, Coach Connors, his investment into his student athletes, man, anybody respected him to the point that they would actually run through the wall if he asked them to. And that's the type of influence that Coach Connors had. And still have. You talk to him, he can get you excited, motivated to play.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it was a wonderful experience, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Coach Connors, man, he's like you said, to this day, he's still the same. And but I mean, you can never prepare, or coming from high school to college, the first year as a freshman, you can't prepare for what we went through, man. Because I myself, just like you, I did some off season. I actually ran track my senior year of high school to kind of help prepare and stay in shape, so to speak, for ECU and all the things that we're getting as far as the workouts that we're concerned. But to get there and then have to do that test when we first got here, man, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
So does it get easier by year 3 or 4, or is it the same hell?
Because I mean, as you accomplish and get better, the standard.
You got to do more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't ever catch up. It
just becomes that fourth quarter, man, and that's
it's got you chasing that carrot
man,
until you graduate.
We just bought into it, man. Everybody that came in, we just bought into that, and we had that mindset that we're going to change this program around, and that's what the mentality was from the beginning, and everyone was on that same one accord, and we did what we did, and we did it great.
Yep.
Talking to Pernell Griffin and Marcus Crandall and Pernell, I thought about this. I was a big fan of yours, and you had a couple of things. You had a cool name. Pernell's a cool name, so you had that. I thought the 47 was cool because a lot of and it's different in college, but linebackers are wearing in the 50s, and I thought the 47 was cool. I'm wondering, did you care about your look and the swag or whatever like guys do these days, or were you out there playing? Did you care at all about all that other stuff?
Well, to be honest, I think I didn't care until we had those games we played on ESPN.
When the lights were on and the TV was on.
I gotta look good.
Yeah, you gotta look good, man. I believe it was Deion Sanders said, "You look good, you play good."
There you go.
We had wristbands that we would put on our elbows, and we didn't have all the extra stuff, but we did have wristbands. I didn't have a towel.
You didn't have the towels like the receivers,
right?
Those guys.
right. But me and
I'm
Jeff,
not going to include myself in that.
Yeah, me and Jeff, we would do like some curls or something like that. Put on like some Vaseline or something, But other than that, man, we just went out and played. Did what we had to do.
I want to ask you about some of your favorite memories. We've been wrapping up conversations with that, Marcus, so I will hold that. But how about post ECU? He played, and Marcus, you've talked about the NFL Europe and things like that. You were a part of that, right?
Right. Had an opportunity as a free agent. I signed with Pittsburgh Steelers. I did get released during the last preseason game back in 2002. Went to NFL Europe and played for 2 teams. Played for Amsterdam Admirals, and also played for the Frankfurt Galaxy. Those were 2 pretty good experiences. The only thing that really didn't sit well was that if a player got injured or if a team was at a disadvantage in the position that you played, they would actually trade you. Like,
no questions asked.
No questions asked. Like, okay, I need for you to get on a bus or train or plane. I need for you to fly here and play for this team.
Yeah.
And that's what pretty much happened with me. We did training camp down in Florida. They were talking about how good I was and how good I was as a free agent coming through, playing in the game. And then what happened, I got released. Actually, I got released from NFL Europe. 2 weeks later, they called me back. When they called me back, I was on a plane in Barcelona within 2 days. Didn't play the first week. An individual got injured in Frankfurt Galaxy that next week. I was back on a plane back in Germany.
Wow.
And I had to start. Now, I got the playbook on Thursday, and I had to make sure I was ready to go that Saturday. And so I started. I believe I had about 10 tackles, just kind of played off instinct. And then I played there for 3 weeks. Another player got injured on Amsterdam. I went back to Amsterdam, finished the season at Amsterdam. So it was a lot of, going back and forth, and that was something that just really didn't sit well. And so, I prayed about it, and I asked the Lord to lead and guide me to what he would have me to do, because I had got my degree in IT. I had already had 2 children at the time, and I wanted something more stable, so that, I can be able to provide for them. So got into the school system or what have you. But that was a great experience, man. Got to play against, I don't know if you remember Mari Smith. He played at A&T, ended up playing with San Francisco, and did some things there. Got the chance to play with quarterback in Jacksonville. I think he backed up David Garrard. I forgot his name. It was Quincy? I forgot his name, but got a chance to play with a couple of guys.
Cowboys had a Quincy. It wasn't that Quincy, was it?
No.
Okay.
No,
Matthew Hatchett, he played beside Chris Carter at Minnesota. Guys like that. So got a chance to play with them. And then, of course, in training camp, against Jerome Bettis and Amos Zaraway. I know you're
famous Amos.
Yes, indeed. Oh, yes.
Yeah, so
Pirate fans remember him, unfortunately. Quincy Carter was the Cowboys guy. That was,
Quincy Carter.
Georgia, right? No,
right, yeah.
Did you ever go, did you ever meet the bus? Head to head?
As a matter of fact, when I hit him, that was one of the great highlights of my training camp. They did a what they call a delayed draw, and I dropped back and I saw it, and I was able to come up, and we stuck each other, and man, they was talking about it in the film
now
room.
tell me about that moment, man. Tell me about that moment, because I don't know if you remember the name Steve Atwater and Christian Okoye.
Broncos.
When you drop back into your drop, I'm thinking, and thinking pass, and then you read the run, you read the draw. Tell me about that moment, because I've never experienced that from that level in regards to coming up and having to hit the running back, and now this running back is Jerome Bettis.
It was pretty cool, man, because like I said, I got back in my drop, went hook curl, and when I dropped hook curl, I saw it was a run play. When I came up and met him in the gap, it was a thud. It was just like two bulls. Yeah. It was just bah! And we both stopped, and he stopped. And I was like, yeah, baby, yeah. Okay, 44, I see you. So it was pretty cool, man. And then, he caught a swing out route. When he caught a swing out route, of course, I was scraping inside out and pushing him. And then my defense coordinator at the time, I think his name was Tim Lewis. Yeah, I think Tim, his last name was Lewis. I don't know if his first name was Tim or not, but he got on me and talk noise about, hey, if you injured him, you do this, that, and the third. And so I was like, well, I got to eat too. So,
Now, head coach was Bill Cowher that year.
Yep.
So what was it like playing for him, man? I've heard the stories and his passion for coaching and the game of football. So from a first-hand experience, give us a little insight about that.
Yeah, it was. It was business. It was straight business with Coach Cowher. I remember a time where I had dropped back, and I was supposed to carry the progressive number 2 receiver up the field, and I was running with him, and he did an out route. And when I came underneath to try to pick it off, I didn't know that he was already in the end zone. So I hit the receiver. And he was like, that was a cheap shot, 44. They never call you by your name. They just call you by your name. That was a cheap shot, 44. Next time you do that, you be on the first bus back home, this, that, and the third. And I was like, well, Coach, I didn't know he was in the end zone. I'm looking at him playing the ball. But he's a good guy, man. Good, serious. When he gets between those white lines, very serious gentleman. Really didn't have any conversation outside of that with him. But he's very serious.
Yeah.
I found out he was Raleigh?
Yeah.
Okay. It was NC State.
In fact, every year after a state coach would have a bad year, the rumors Bill Cowher to NC State would start. That was the thing for 20 years while he's been on TV, and it never came to fruition. Obviously, I like him on TV, and I also like looking at the old clips of him when he get mad and make that face and have spit on the side of his mouth. And, Awesome stuff. Great stories with Pernell. That was a good face there, Marcus, you just made there. All right, so Pernell, how about ECU memories? We've been talking to those with Marcus and the old teammates, but what I mentioned that Wake Forest game. Like, do you remember that game when you had 24 tackles?
I do. I remember that game. Coach Rose, he was our defensive coordinator at the time, and he had said that I was on 3 out of 4 plays. I was in on the tackle 3 out of 4 plays. So he said that, he never had a linebacker to grade out being in plays that much. He was like, I was all over the field, and I was even bringing the team water. So that was pretty good, man. And anytime we played teams like that, Marcus probably can attest to this, it was another gear. Anytime we had an in-state rival, anytime we played a big time school, it was, we shifted to another gear. The likes of Miami, Wake Forest, Carolina, Louisville. We also played Syracuse. Anytime we played Syracuse, anytime, even if, we played Army team wasn't as big as ours, but man, they just had a won't die spirit, man.
Yeah.
So you always had to kind of keep the pedal to the metal when you're playing against them. The Virginia Techs, Michael Vick. And I played against Al Clark and Pegues and Chiron Steph. So that was my first year actually playing. So that was interesting.
That Thursday night game when Vic came here.
That was in '99.
Man, the build up for that game was awesome. Like it was, and then the game didn't go so great, but man, I still remember walking up to the stadium that night and just the electricity that was in it.
I was actually here for that game.
We needed you on the field, Marcus. I don't know if you could have stopped. Actually, their running back had a big game that game. I don't know if it was Suggs. They had so many running backs back then. Yeah. But Pernell, if you had, I guess you carried that chip from your high school because you came to the right place for that, like the underdog mentality and everything. You're not a Carolina guy, I can tell you that. You came to the right place. But it sounds like you kind of carried that chip over to the college level, and obviously your teammates had it. And ECU, Marcus has always had that chip on the shoulder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what we did, man. Coming from a small school, we felt like we always had something to prove. Even when we played 2A, 3A, 4A teams, when we scrimmaged against them, or if we had them on our schedule, that was just something that my mom and dad, they just kind of embedded that in me, not to back down from, a challenge or a fight, be, held accountable for the decisions that you make, be responsible. But at the same time, make sure you work hard, outwork those who are in front of you. And that's how you'll be seen. And that's kind of how, I raise my children. Listen, you outwork the person in front of you. And someone will see you and they'll recognize your work ethic. And, God, he will add the increase. So just understand that, working hard, it pays off. You may not see it, just like I didn't see it when I was here those first couple of weeks of actually training. I wanted to go home. I didn't actually see it, but now, I see it because things that people will stop going after because it may get hard. That working out, that running up the stadium, that snake in the stadium with weight vests on your back, and all of those offense versus defense competition, all those things that Coach Connors instilled in us. I see it now, even in the workplace. When work gets hard and, they add work on you, then, I know I can handle it. Because if I can go through that, then I know I can go through this. So we played like that. Even against Miami, we played like that. Mm-hmm. It didn't start out that way because, you had teammates that still didn't buy into the process and they still didn't believe. But I was able to be inspirational in the locker room during halftime. And I mean, it was so emotional during halftime. It was like, guys, they would cry, they were crying, and, they was just so passionate about what we wanted to do. We had already spent 2 weeks in South Carolina because of Hurricane Floyd. And then, guys only had like 2 pair of underwear, and we trying to figure out what we need to do. Coach, we was cooking on the grill to try to keep the morale up. And then people have already done lost valuable things in their homes. Houses were flooded. It was just it was an amazing experience during that time, and that built our character. Because we beat South Carolina, I believe it was 21-3. Then we came back, couldn't even play in Dowdy Fick. We had to play at Carter Finley Stadium, and we did that. We saw the diehard fans that came, man, and it was live and it was loud, and man, adrenaline was flowing. And then we start out rough. And then around about the middle of the third quarter, it was a shift, and then it was lights out from there, man. So we banded together. We forgot about what was going on in Greenville, so we could focus on what needed to be done in Raleigh, and we took care of business. But that's the type of attitude that guys coming together, working hard, knowing what we did for those 2 weeks, building that camaraderie, building that fellowship, with the brothers. We were able to get it done. So
one of the greatest games and memories I have being at it was just, there's so many different, they didn't make a 30 for 30 on it really, because there's so many different stories. And I'm a Washington fan, Pernell, so in the mid 2000s, Portis and Moss were my guys, and I'm watching them play for Washington. I'm like, man, I watched them play live, and ECU beat these guys along with all the other all pros they had on that roster. Just crazy. And I believe my Conley Viking brother Jamie Wilson was in that game, played well. Keith Stokes had some just so many heroes in that game. It was awesome.
Awesome.
You had they had Nate Webster, Dan Morgan, Reggie Wayne. They had Kenny Kelly.
Portis wasn't even their starter. Their starting running back went down, and I remember he came in. Was it James Jackson? Yep.
They had James Jackson, Clinton Portis, Al Payton, that was Walter Payton's son.
Who was the tight end? I know. Was it Bubba?
It was Bubba Franks.
Bubba Franks.
They had Benny Blades, Al and Benny Blades.
Wow.
They were stacked. Yeah, they were stacked, awesome, man. I tell you, and like I said, man, the guys that we didn't care, who we went up against. It was kind of like David versus Goliath. Mm-hmm. But, we went in there. I think they were ranked maybe in the top 10. I might say they might have been ranked number 9. And, man, it was all out, man. It was, tooth and nail fight.
Did you celebrate on the field with all the crowd rush and everything? What'd you do right after the game?
I had to duck because the field goal post. they had tore the field goal post down, and I saw it coming. I was like, so I had to duck. I didn't have time to celebrate. But,
Good. Glad you got out of the way of that.
Yeah, it was an awesome feeling, man. I tell you.
You know what? That's a great experience for what we talk about Pirate fans in regards to we're a different type, man. Different breed.
Different breed.
They are a different type in regards to, and I really don't know what it's like for other teams. But when you see, a team goes from one venue to the next, you don't see as many. For me, I don't see it anyway. Many fans travel to games and things such as our Pirates fans do did back then as well. And continue to do, but it was a great experience, I'm sure, man. And to see that goalpost coming down and seeing those faces.
Yeah, it was, man. I tell you, Mark Gellard, he was very inspirational. I remember I think he might have broke his ankle or something like that. And he kind of looked at the fans, and he was hopping on one leg. And he was like, let's go. And man, it was like we was about to go crazy.
Mark Yell, who went on to coach here at East Carolina. He was great to talk to. All right, we're about out of time, Marcus. You got anything else for Pernell before we let him get out of here today?
Last thing, let's finish off with there's something else that you do. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. In regards to pastoring.
Yeah. I'm a youth pastor in Rocky Mount, Ebenezer Baptist Church. Been doing that since 2016. Started February the 16th, 2016. Been there ever since. Our youth is they're growing as far as spiritual development. We also have different youth things that we're also doing. And I run an organization called the Griffin Experiment. The Griffin Experiment really hadn't time to do the extended camps, but I still do. I take appointments Basically, it's similar to the Armored Life, except for I'm hands-on with the student athlete. So we do physical skill development, and then I bring in different individuals to do leadership development, and then we do devotional every day. And on that last day of camp, we extend an invitation, whoever want to receive salvation. So I call it altar call. We feed them, we give out shirts, trophies, or what have you. So hadn't did that since 2015, but as far as the one-on-one skill development, that you still can receive that, and that's like I said, they can just reach out to me. They got my contact information, and go from there. I'm certified with USA Football as well, so we teach and train, any position, because I played pretty much all.
You practice what you preach.
Yeah. So
awesome.
we pretty much provide that training. So that's really good, man. But God has given me that assignment in Rocky Mount to be the youth pastor. I'm there at Ebenezer, so I'm thankful for that. Like I said before, it's only by His grace, man.
Absolutely, man.
That I'm able to do what I'm able to do.
And you know what? In today's world, is I'm a personal testimony in regards to people just sharing their faith nowadays. Mm-hmm. I grew up not really letting people know that I was a believer, because people thought that a lot of people thought that God isn't real, right? Or a lot of people still do, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but it's important for me now to express that, mm-hmm. and for me personally to understand that Christ died for all of our sins, yes. and He accepts us for who we are, and has forgiven us for everything that we've done. And that's the hard part for people that don't believe, right. to come to Christ and give their life to Him.
Right. Amen. Jesus, man, I tell you, He is the great I am, as we call Him. He's whatever you need for Him to be. And the most thing that I'm so grateful for is His forgiveness. Even though we're in what we're in, and sometimes we make the decisions that are not advantageous to us, even though we, make negative decisions or what have you, that He has always been there. And He gives us the free will. He extends the free gift of salvation, and He gives it to us. And all we have to do is just accept it.
Absolutely.
So I'm so thankful for that. And man, I tell you, just like Marcus had mentioned about afraid to share your faith, man, that's how I was my sophomore year. I got saved in 1999. And, the guys, there's just certain things that the guys do that, because you're part of the guys, you would just do. And then, as I grew, or as I matured spiritually, then I kind of had to separate myself as far as some of the things that they did to kind of focus on what God wanted me to do. And so, we were able to touch lives, share our faith. From the Griffin experiment, I was inspirational in 300 people being saved. So God has really blessed us in that. They got certificates, and they have, but we have a charge. We charge them to do certain things as far as being a positive citizen within their community, and so they receive that, and they got a picture frame for it to where they can post it. They sign it, I sign it, and we come into an agreement. So I still reach out to those student athletes, talk to them, encourage them. I attend their graduations, because now when I started back in 2013, those individuals have graduated. Some of them have graduated from high school, some of them are in college. Mm-hmm. And so I reach, back out to them, talk to their parents or what have you, and still do that. So,
man, we're going to revisit this later on down the road, because we're going to have a different pirate show, a radio show at some point down the road there. We appreciate this, man, and you sharing those experiences and your life as it is right now with us. We appreciate that.
And once again, Mark, is just a common theme with these guys, just tremendous men, and Pernell, just awesome that you are, giving knowledge to the youth that maybe wished you had, I guess, back then, to help guide and things like that. But Pernell, been awesome talking with you, and we got to do this again. We got more stories to tell, right?
Yes, indeed, man.
So we'll do that. Marcus, awesome stuff. We've got an interview coming up. And this is for our YouTube audience watching right now. But Coach Doug Martin, we'll have that. We'll have Jairus McPhail, which will be really cool. We got Alico Dunk coming up live, and so many more. So keep up the good work. I was joking with you. Troy and Jonathan have never made me work this hard to knock out all these interviews, but I'm loving it. I'm getting a lot from it, and I know the Pirate fans, listeners are loving it. So. Great work by you.
Again, glory be to God, man. And this is the path that he chose for me at the moment. And so I'm just following the Spirit, man. That's all.
Pernell, thanks so much.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you
sir.
For having me. Thank you, Morris.
All right. And if you're watching our YouTube and Facebook, might jump back on at 1 o'clock. Stay tuned for that. But we'll be with you at 3 o'clock on Pirate Radio Live this afternoon. Thank you all for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.